there's a gap that we can bridge for these young adults, a gap in our education, a gap in the needs between what they need and what we offer or what the world offers them tonight or in today. So we're going to share a few slides. Thank you so much, Kim. This is what we are going to do, I would think, throughout this presentation. We're going to gather as a group, and we hope this would be a conversation, not just an informative session, but also a conversation. And we hope that we will address some of the challenges of our young adults. We will present one of our perspectives, and we're welcoming all perspectives to join us in this journey. We're going to talk about what do young adults need. We're going to have a parent here with us, going to share their perspective as well. We do have a section of questions and answers at the end of our presentation. So if questions will come up for you, please drop them in the chat so we can address them at the end of that session when that segment comes. There is literally nothing to sell in this call. We want this to be a space for us to learn, a space for us to connect to what their needs are and to what we can do as parents or as guides in their journey. Take advantage of a free call with 2 coaches. That's the only thing we encourage you to do. We are passionate about this work for our young adults. And we believe that every young adult has a unique set of gifts, and we're curious to find them. So that's going to be the purpose of that call. As mentioned in this slide, I would like to start with a quick centering, just so we can gather ourselves together here and from wherever we are, from wherever we're doing before. So I will invite all of you to just take a quick deep breath and connect with your body. Bring your awareness to your body. Find a comfortable position, as comfortable as possible. And if you would like to close your eyes, you can do that. Bring your awareness to your feet. Feel the soles of your feet, your toes. See if you can tap in the energy of the earth and feel connected to the earth. Bring your awareness to the rest of your body and notice if there's any tension. And use your breath to release that tension as much as possible. Bring your awareness to the head space and notice your thoughts. And as you notice them, let them go. Do not hang on to them. Take a deep breath. I am here now. You may open your eyes. Thank you for being here with us and being present with us. I will invite you to just maybe write the answer to a question in the chat. What did you wish you knew when you were 18? Briefly write a quick answer to that, few words about that. And we'll be curious to see exactly how this ties up into the rest of our presentation. In the first slide, we're gonna address a bit of the challenges and the consequences of those challenges for our young adults today. We live in a world with so much of uncertainty. Change is a constant, and it was a constant for a long time. but the speed of the change right now is changing completely, and it affects our ability to not only feel prepared, but really sit with this idea of I don't know. And we live in a system where saying I don't know is not as easily as acceptable. We've been trained to predict and control to make sure that everything around us falls into the right place to feel safe in a world. And we might need to relook at that. This access to information that happens so fast today, thanks to technology, social media, artificial intelligence, and so on, takes a toll on our ability to find trustworthy sources. We don't know what's the agenda behind any op-ed that we read. And that's causing our young adults at this age where they are actually forming that capacity to discern. They are actually trying and testing that capacity to build a discernment. It's causing them to feel even more confused in today's world. The speed is also inviting to less reflection. We look so much for outer world, for the external sources to find solutions to our problems. We have the attention span as humans of a goldfish, 9 seconds when we read something. We want to have the answer to a problem right away. We use Google, we use YouTube as a doctor, as a coach, as a fixer-upper, as anything. We teach less about patience and less about looking inside, looking at the root causes as well, not just at the symptoms when we're dealing with a problem. Our beliefs are formed by something that someone said at a party a couple of years ago. And this is just something that affects not only our young adults, but everyone around in the world. And our young adults are at this stage in their life where they're trying to make sense of all of it. There's so much of criticism and judgment that we live in today. And we've heard from our young adults this constant saying of, I am not enough, or even more heartbroken, how can I live with myself? And that's something that we need to reflect on, and we really need to bring a balance that this criticism and judgment in our times, it used to stop once you leave the school. It would have been, it will go away. You reach to your family, you can find your safe space. Right now, it's everywhere, and it stays with you forever because of social media, because those comments and that criticism is made public in a public space much more often than before. The social interactions change completely to more online, less in person. The relationships that our young adults are building today, they're harder to be built in this way. And even introverts, I think, need today that space for connection. There are smaller groups of people. While we're doing all this, we have to pay attention to the fact that our society is still feeding an old definition of success, like study hard, go to a great college, get a job, and then retire happily. They are at this point in life, they are not, we live in a different reality for them. And some parents prepare for college admission since the first grade, and that constant pressure is something that they live with throughout their whole 12 years of education. As a conclusion, seeing all these challenges and realizing today was a hard day, I think, for myself and for many of us sitting here and talking about young adults challenges. And I would like to take a few seconds to keep a moment of silence for whatever happens with our young adults and with our children in the world today. Thank you. We can move to the next slide just to take a bit of conclusion as to what was known to us as parents so far. This traditional approach to life is not the reality today. Who would thought that, you know, being a YouTuber is something that some people, some young adults would really want to pursue, and even some adults today, I can raise my hand to that. We were looking for stability, but they are looking for purpose, and it's partly because we have done our work. We as parents have worked really hard to bring that stability to them. But in this process, they've seen our struggle, they've seen our wounds, they've seen our quest for purpose that came probably a bit later. And they know that deep inside that all that struggle is worth it if there's meaning to their work. Now, we cannot expect our young adults to be able to outfunction us and to function independently after 12 years of feeding them the right answer. They need that direction. They do need the boundaries, but this constant pressure that we live in leaves them with less room to just be. Today, 1 in 3 young adults are struggling with mental well-being. The struggle is not because of lack of interest to find a purpose. It's on the contrary, because 72% of college students feel that having a job that has a positive impact in the world is essential for them. But only 20% have found something meaningful they want to dedicate their life to. I find that the fisherman's story to be a good representation for this generation. It used to be our story when we were 30s probably, but it's theirs now more than ever. For those of you who don't know it, it goes like this. A fisherman had a nice family, a house by the beach, and was fishing only for their daily needs. One day he met a businessman who said, catch more fish, buy more boats, so you can run a successful business. The fisherman answered, then what? Start a family and live by the beach. This is their struggle right now. And we need to change that discourse between doing to being, between have, do, be, starting with being and then doing and then having. For this, we need to start changing how we prepare the kids to discover meaning and value themselves in today's world. And I will pass the mic to Kim for the next slides.
Thank you so much, Raluca, and thank you to everyone for being here and for that sacred pause for the tragedy that many of us know about from Texas, and doing this work that we're doing. You know, we certainly couldn't have predicted that we'd be speaking about supporting young adults to find their way after such a tragedy. And so I'm actually really, really grateful we're here. This feels like a powerful way to be joining and gathering ourselves around a common cause and deep, deep care that certainly Raluca and I have with this work, but we know all of you have because you're here. So with the challenges our young adults are facing, we need a different approach. You know, this is what we're seeing, that we have got to start giving them an approach that actually leads them toward that sense of meaning and purpose that that they are longing for, that they're craving so much more than in prior generations. I think always we want meaning and purpose, but there's definitely a deeper, almost a deeper knowing that that is critical in this younger generations that are coming forward. And so everything we're doing needs to lead toward that. And so if we're going to take a unique approach to education, even to raising our kids, we need to be looking at first approaching things holistically. You know, our culture tends toward a much more intellectual academic culture, and we want to be integrating the emotions, the body, the soul, and the spirit, these aspects of our being, so that we are looking at the totality of these young people and really honoring the wholeness of who they are, and not critiquing them based on only one part of them or small parts of them. And as we can allow for them to have this holistic vantage point of themselves, but also from us looking at them that way, they become whole within their eye. And we need I to have we. And there's a lot of talk about this concept of community. And yes, we need community, no doubt about it. And we help find our own I through the community. We are reflected in the community. So we need I to have we, and we need we to have I, and this concept of collaboration. And it has to be real, right? We can't just talk about community. We have to know that Raluca and I are both trained as ontological coaches. And one of the things that the founder of the organization we were trained with, I loved his definition of community. He said, a community is a place where we share our unique gifts. And I love that. That is the true definition of we. But if we don't know our unique gifts, we don't have I to collaborate and interact with we, right? So we need to start there. And then through there, we can have that sense of reflection. We can look in the mirror and reflect with ourselves and question within ourselves, but we can also get the reflection from our community, from the we, and have that opportunity to contemplate and go deeper. One of the things that we really believe is that in order to find your way, we're here to help young adults find their way. We need to find our why. They need to find their why. But sadly, we can get so stuck in why me? Why is this always happening to me? Why is life this way? And we can lose hope very, very quickly, right? And so we really want to look at the other questions to find the why, which are things like, who am I? What am I here to do? What are my gifts and strengths and values? What's my purpose? Where do I belong? Where can I serve? When are my gifts needed? When's the right time to step in as a leader, to step in as a servant, right? These are the questions we want our young adults to be asking. This is what is so critical for them to find their way. And through the answer to those questions, they begin to find their why, okay? They also need, in that process, a safe space to fail. We believe that failure is learning. There is really no such thing as failure. There's just a learning opportunity, right? And our culture doesn't tend to give young people, or any people for that matter, much opportunity to fail, to make mistakes, to be able to say, oh, wow, that was interesting. Maybe I won't do that again, right? When we think of a little child, we always want to protect them. We don't want them to touch the hot stove or things like that. And we correct them. And of course, the biggest learning happens when they touch it and they realize, oh, that's why mama's not been letting me touch the stove, right? No, we don't want them to get hurt, but there is an aspect of how can we give them places where they can have the opportunity to see failure as learning rather than being bad or a problem. Okay, no matter what path they take, they're going to need this if they choose to go straight into the workforce, go off to college, go to trade school, choose a gap year program, or some kind of other opportunity for themselves. They're going to need to know that they can make mistakes and feel safe in doing that. Okay. We also believe wholeheartedly that we need to give them the opportunity to ignite the will forces. Now, what I mean by that is not just like, let's do anything, let's do whatever we want whenever we feel like it, right? We holistically, again, we really believe that we have to look at what is mine to do, not just the doing, but the being integrated with the doing, as Raluca pointed out, right? This weaving together of both and understanding how we can engage our will consciously with purpose and meaning rather than just being distracted. Like, let's just go on an adventure. Let's just do this or that. It's not that other activities can't give us something, but so often, even in our full on adult lives at the stage we're all at, what's happening is we do things without thinking about what are we learning? What's the purpose of it? What's the meaning? So giving them that opportunity to ignite their will. And we call that largely the socio-entrepreneurial spirit. We look at this idea that it's not about just becoming an entrepreneur, but having a socio-entrepreneurial spirit that knows how to activate the will, create, to bring purpose, to lead when it's time to lead, to step back when it's time to step back, to understand what's going on around them and communicate effectively. These are all ways in which we ignite our will, and we often don't even think about it consciously, okay? And so that brings me to the concept of freedom. We want them to have the freedom to explore and experiment and be themselves and do things and ask questions and also be responsible. You know, we want to give them that chance to step up. And all of these things, all of these pieces of this unique approach that we feel is so important for young adults today is centered around this concept of helping them to reclaim their self-esteem, their inherent self-worth that sadly gets all too easily forgotten in today's culture, trying to aspire to this or that, right? And so we see three main prerequisites, if you will, for finding that sense of purpose and meaning. The first one being to reflect on their identity, aligning with their truth. This means they need a space to detach from all of the things they've been conditioned or told to believe, all of the shoulding on them that's been happening over the years as they've grown up. And we all know what that means. We've all had it, right? We are all telling ourselves stories that are probably still coming from our own childhoods and things like that. And we don't need to go reliving them. But what we do need to understand is, what are those stories? How can we detach from them? How can we shift and really connect to our values and move toward a sense of our strengths and really look at, who am I? How can I show up most effectively? And with that, we want them to be able to dream and find inspiration. All right. One of the things that we noticed in our program running it is it was actually very saddening to Raluca and I to see how many of the young students feel a struggle to actually dream. They feel so uncertain about the world today that they're kind of like, well, I don't even know what's going to happen next year, let alone how do I have a vision for 5 years or 3 years or anything like that, right? And that's partly normal for this age. A lot of young adults don't know what they want to do yet. They struggle to have a vision. But we remember that when we were young, we had some role models. We had some icons that we were thinking, I want to be like that, right? I want to have this happen in my life. I want to make that happen in my life, right? And we want them to find that inspiration again, to dream again, to feel like they can. And with that, they need to know that it's okay to take risks. I think a lot of the reason they don't want to dream is they're also afraid to take any risks that are necessary to actually realize those dreams, right? So we want to give them that sense of safety, encouragement, the ability to learn and make assessments and be assessed. That's a critical piece of the learning and the process of risk taking, to learn from it and grow from it. Okay. So we have a different journey in mind. This is a journey that we believe young adults need to find their way. And ultimately, it really is a journey of every soul. And it's a kind of a spiraling journey, if you can imagine that we're constantly revisiting these aspects of our being and our life and the ways in which we show up in the world. And the earlier in life we can start to consciously be aware of these stages, the better, right? And so the first stage is to give them, well, first of all, we want to give them a map. And here we see these three overlapping circles, which is kind of a map for this way that we're trying to help them find. And the first aspect of that map, or stage of that map, is to discover. This is about helping them answer the questions of, who am I? What do I have to offer? What are my strengths? What are my gifts? If we don't give them time and opportunity and space to do this, then they feel disempowered. You can see here with the area where that discover circle is not intersecting the other two. This is the gray area where they're feeling, because discovering who they are is not potent enough there. They feel disempowered. They're people pleasing. They have no sense of self, right? And we want them to activate their will and start this journey, have the courage to go deep and do that discovery. And the next is to connect. And in this connecting phase, they start to look at having emotional mastery. They look at what matters. What might their emotions be telling them to indicate to them what's important to them? What are their values, right? Where am I needed, right? They start to look at those, like the causes that they care about and where they might want to apply their unique strengths. And if they don't, if they're not having that circle, they start to feel overwhelmed. They feel a sense of disconnection. They start to feel lost with a lack of purpose. Many of our young adults simply haven't been given the opportunity to connect to what matters to them. They've been told what matters, but they aren't given space to learn what matters to them. This is so critical. The next piece is that we want them to have the opportunity to envision, to develop clear thought, a clear vision toward a future that they can believe in. And this is where they're asking the question, how can I actually be me? It's like, okay, I've discovered my strengths. I know who I am, or at least more of who I am. But how can I be that in the world that maybe doesn't want me to be me because it's a little different than everyone else? You know, maybe I don't believe in the status quo and it's really hard. So how can I do that? How can I have a vision that allows me to be that and make a difference? How can I make a difference with that? And if they're not able to dream, if they're not able to have a vision, they start to feel empty. They start to feel a lack of belonging or no sense of place in the world, right? And ultimately, when these three circles, these aspects of the journey are overlapping, they are able to create. They are able to create incoherence. They have their sense of will aligned with their emotional mastery and their clear thinking. And from that place, they can generate in fulfillment and alignment with their own true being, their true nature, a life that they feel really proud of and good about on a day-to-day basis. Okay. And so we can help, we as the adults, the counselors, the guides, we can help them by bringing these questions to them. But here's the key. We want them to answer the questions. We want them to find out who they are and what matters to them. Very often, and I have two young adults at home too, and I know how hard it can be to let them make their mistakes, let them fail, let them not know the answers to the questions, because we've been there, we've done that. But the minute we take that approach as if they're crazy or clueless or whatever it is, and we try to tell them what to do, then they feel that and they want to push us away, right? And they're not going to be comfortable with that. So we need to step back and let them start answering these questions. And everyone has a unique situation. You know, you may have a young adult that is struggling to connect to their values. Maybe you have one that is, longing to know more of who they are and what their strengths are. Everybody's situation is different, and every situation has its own traumas connected with it, its own challenges. Raluca mentioned 1 in 3 young adults is struggling with some kind of mental challenge right now. So if you ever have any challenge along those lines, we just want to have the conversation, and we really invite you to schedule a call with us. You're going to get to talk to a couple of trained ontological coaches and just share your thoughts with us. Let us know what's going on for you. We would be so happy to share what we're seeing, and we would especially love to hear from you about what you're seeing. Okay, and I want to continue on here with, so what do they need? And what we're going to share here is a very brief video of one of our students. We asked one of our students, we asked all of our students to create a story. And what we did, this was after they had gone through the first 2 stages of that journey, the discovery and the connecting stage. And they really were getting a sense of who they are and what they care about and what the causes are that they care to align with. And so we asked them to write a story that was kind of as if their character was an exaggerated superhero, and they were going to come together and have a story that was written about these superheroes coming together with their unique strengths to champion a cause, to somehow help through. And this is a little clip that gives a sense of the struggle that the students are seeing.
Thinking about what I should have done, what I could have done, live in the now, live here. But people are so hateful at times, so unforgiving, so unkind. The future seems so much more appealing than now, the past almost forgiving. None of what happened happened. It was all in my head. My mind made things bigger than they were, creating an illusion. I suppose now I know where I really get my name. Forgiving myself isn't an option. My mind has told me that for as long as I can remember. Trouble often arises when forgiving others because I magnify things. I take them too personally. I'm weak. Maybe I should be vulnerable again for a while. I know what else starts with V, victim. I'm still battling leaving this corner. It's challenging when it feels as though the world is against you, the outer world. I long for compassion. Out there, it reeks of hate, judgment, and narrow-mindedness. According to a warlock I once spoke to, fragility makes one weak, and all society needs is discipline and fortitude so that they don't act like cripples. I didn't have high regards for this man. How can one be strong without support and understanding and constant verbal? How can one be strong without support and understanding and constant verbal beration? One day, I'll see things from this warlock's perspective, perhaps. Maybe he too rarely received compassion. I see myself giving less and less of it to those around me who don't give me any. So unkind.
Oops, let's advance here. So, whew, take a deep breath after that, right? That's just her sharing a story and envisioning a slightly exaggerated world, but based on her own feelings. And the other students followed suit. They were all writing about the concept of things they see in the world as challenges, all of them seeking compassion, deeper understanding. And so along these lines, our program offers students an opportunity to come together. And first and foremost, the first aha we hear them say is, I'm not alone in this. I didn't realize everybody else was or that there were other people thinking along these lines. I didn't think anyone else was thinking the way that I do or thought things could be different, right? They start to realize their true strengths when they come together and they're engaged in soulful activities, whether it's creative activities and of course being with nature, and even the online work that we do has proven to allow for these deeper conversations where they can start to notice their strengths, not just what they're good at, but what they actually feel fed by and nourished by. And I want to share a bit about this final piece. We asked the students to present to us at the end of the program what do you have to say about your experience of this journey. And this particular student chose to write up this paper and put it up and talk to us about it. And these are things that they wanted to know and feel at the beginning of the program. They wanted to trust more in their abilities and feel more positive and communicate better and have a better relationship with family and friends and be able to manage time and feel good in their body. And as they were up there presenting to us, we were just so moved, because at first when we saw this, we weren't sure what they were doing. And they literally took a pen and started crossing them out one by one and saying that by going through these kinds of stages of a journey, by taking the time for this different, unique approach, they were able to start feeling all of these things that they wanted. They were able to start connecting with their family, communicate better, feel better in their body, understand more of who they are. And that is about finding joy within themselves without relying on things like diagnoses and medication and things like that. Now, we're not doctors, we're not debating that, but what we can say is we know that, and we've witnessed that when young adults are fed with this kind of nourishment, they don't need to be fed with other kinds of things, whether it's addictive behavior, medications, whatever it is. And that is one of the most powerful reasons that we see it's so important for us to start changing the approach that we have. And so kind of summarizing here, this aspect of what do the young adults need? It's first and foremost to know and believe in themselves. Okay, they need to be clear about that. I've said a lot about emphasizing that. They need to know how to navigate extremes. Aristotle spoke of virtue as the mean between the too much and the too little. And a lot of young adults are extremely impulsive and instinctual, and they struggle to make wise decisions. And we do believe that working with that concept of virtues like courage, patience, compassion, perseverance, discernment, these are all virtues that we talk about in this process, in these stages, that help them to find a greater middle way and navigate those extremes with wisdom, okay, instead of impulse and instinct. They need space to dream and explore. And we were loving that even just when presented with inspiring guests and other people thinking differently, it was amazing to watch how like, oh, you know, this is a time when they need to separate from their birth family. And it's really hard for us as parents. It's really hard for us. I used to say as my two boys were becoming teenagers, I got dumber and dumber every day because it was in their eyes like, you know, we're no longer the wow, mom and dad, you know, this is amazing, but rather like, whatever, mom, you know, the eye rolling. And yet there's this incredible gesture of mom, don't go too far, but mom, get away, you know, and watching that can be so painful because we want to be there for them. They have to find their way. They are here to claim themselves at this stage of their life, and they're going to rebel and they're going to do some of these things in order to do so. Okay. So we want to be able to have respect for that, give them mentors and role models that they can respect. We want to make sure that we're not being sarcastic or soul crushing in the way that we're interacting with them. And most of all, we really, really want to listen, not try to fix everything, not give them answers. We want to listen and just be there and allow for that space for them. And on that note, I'd love to hear in the chat from you guys, are any of these needs that we've mentioned and shared similar to what you said you wished you had or knew at the age of 18? Feel free to put in the chat anything that you're noticing, any other thoughts you have on what you wish you knew. And again, you know, if you have more to talk about or more questions, we're going to have some Q&A at the end, but we are so happy to talk with you about that. And we're gonna have a brief moment here, a little conversation with a parent that we'd like to share with you. And so I'm going to bring on one of the parents. Her name is Beth King, and give me 1 second here. And she should be able to unmute and pop her video on, and I'm trying to highlight her, but I am struggling to find the highlight. I'm going to stop sharing and maybe that will help me. And we'll get her spotlighted here with Raluca.
Mhm.
I'm going to pin her.
You can see her.
I'm able to unmute, but I cannot start the video.
Uh-oh. Oh
yeah.
dear. Gosh. Huh. So maybe we can't do that right now.
Okay. We can start and then maybe in the meantime.
Yes, and as a result,
Yeah.
I think I can't spotlight you either. So I'm so sorry about that because we really wanted to make sure you could see, oh,
There you are.
Got it.
Yay. Wonderful. Okay. And I am going to spotlight you both. Yay. Now we've got it. Thank you for being patient with us,
Yay.
everyone.
Thank you so much, Beth, for being here. Beth is one of the parents, one of the Parzival parents. They're Parzival students and then Parzival parents. And we're so happy to have you here. I would like you to share a bit with us, what was James's struggle as he joined our program? What was he's looking for?
Right. When he concluded high school, he had some ideas on what he wanted to do. It seemed to me like he was lacking confidence, definitely lacking clarity on how to move forward with any of that. He actually joined Parzival a year after he had been out of high school.
Mhm.
And during that year, I would say he was floundering would be my my word of choice. So he was needing some assistance in finding direction and getting some footing moving forward in his adult life.
Right. Is there something that you think is there something that he found so valuable through the program to help him bridge that gap for direction or that need for direction?
Right. I definitely. I think one of the strongest things that came out of his experience was like finding his unique strengths. I know earlier in the program there was a lot of work done with strengths, and for him to be able to see that and start experiencing that for himself. He had always been kind of a little bit different, a little bit odd, kind of quirky guy, and but to see that he brings something unique and special. As the parent, I could tell him that all day long, but for him to experience that for himself and see that and take that on as his truth, that was a wonderful thing. So yeah,
Yeah, he had such an amazing journey together, and it was such a big privilege to have him in our program. And he's very hands-on, and one of the entrepreneurs in our group. He's, what was his dream? You can share. What was his major dream? Was to start something on his own.
Right. Yes. He's very interested in auto mechanics. He loves old trucks. He loves, saving older vehicles from the junkyard. No project is too big. He will tackle almost anything, and that's where his passion lies. So yeah.
Yeah, and you've seen that, and I think if you can share any of the biggest learnings other than the strengths, along this journey that you've seen, or biggest aha moments.
Yeah, I just, like I said, but he is now experiencing like greater confidence. I am watching him finish larger projects. Starting last couple of months, he's taking more action, not just talk. He's doing, taking action, and greater confidence. I would say like greater maturity. But he's been adulting, and I think that's one of the benefits for the Parzival experience. While he didn't go off to college, he did. Parzival allowed him that adult experience that was separate from the home, that was separate from me, from his parents. And I think he benefited from that. I told him from the beginning, just, I'd love to hear what you're doing, but don't feel like I'm pressuring you to share. And so weeks would go by and he would share nothing. And then he would suddenly share some great insight. And so it was wonderful just to sit on the sidelines and watch him grow and develop and become more, letting more of who he is be revealed. So,
yeah. Yes, he's such a cool kid, as Captain says in the chat.
Thank you.
And we're so happy to have him, and thankful to you for trusting us with having him in this journey. Thank you so much.
Sure. Yeah.
We can return to one of our last slides before our Q&A session. This brings us to conclude, what is our role as parents today? We are moving from being involved to helping them evolve, and we take the role of a guide right now. This is where we are in the journey. And we need to connect, we need to help them connect with this area of appreciation, which is so much need, as in opposed to that critical judgment and to the criticism that they live in today. This need for appreciation is something that is really, we're going to help them develop with who they are. There's so much of should, there's so much of telling them what they need to improve that we forget to pay attention to who they really are and those unique gifts. What do they want to say to us? Appreciation for who they are more than anything else. That's the first step for me into building that element of compassion. And we've heard the story from our student, and all of them resonated with the same idea of, I need compassion from this world. There is so much of pain and suffering. And for us, compassion means to suffer with. It doesn't mean to pity. It doesn't mean to passively accept that there's a struggle. It means to really say, I am here for you, and I'm here with you in this. And it also starts, our role is also to encourage self-compassion. And I say that it also starts with us most of the times. They learn from us. They learn from us. And I see ourselves as parents most of the times bringing that whip from time to time, and just let go of that for a second and appreciate who we are as parents. We are the best parents our young adults have today. And that's going to help them move into understanding that they are okay with who they are right now. And all in all, I feel that it is up to our generation, the buffer generation that we believe we are, to redefine what enough and success means, to help them define for themselves what enough and success means. They might not want the big house, they might not want a nice car, but they might be just fine building their own house and or renting a small space or whatever it is. Help them define and find their way to success. That's the last slide for our presentation, and we would like to open for a Q&A session. And I've heard some questions in the chat. I've seen some questions in the chat. Yes, we're here
Please
together.
feel free to pop something in the chat if you'd like. And I think there are, I don't know if there's, yeah, under the reactions tab also, if you prefer, you can do a raise hand, and we can try to keep an eye on that. But it might be easier actually just from the visibility on screen if you pop a question in the chat, or just let us know if you'd like to be unmuted to ask your question. We're happy to do that too, if you let us know. But we would love to address any questions that anyone has right now.
I said, okay, let's see. Okay.
From before, we have a question. What are some of the outcomes for a student that goes through the 4 stages? That is a great question. And what we see, because this is more of a journey of the soul, if you will, we really see that every student has different outcomes. We just graduated the class that went through this last program, and the students, there was one young woman who said, you know what, about 4 to 6 weeks ago, I got off my anti-anxiety and anti-depression medication. We had another young woman who said, I thought this was so much more valuable to me. I stopped doing other therapy that was there. Those are great and they're fantastic, but that's certainly not like the mission that we set out to do. What we loved hearing more than anything was, I just feel like I'm not so scared anymore. I just feel like I can be with the unknown. I feel like I'm able to allow for uncertainty and even confusion and not feel embarrassed if I don't know what I'm doing. I feel like I know what I have to bring to the world, even if I'm still figuring things out. It's not, a journey like this is not a quick fix or a magic pill. That's not what any of us really can do, but it is what society wants, right? And so we're not talking about a journey that's going to fix everything instantly. We're talking about a journey that actually allows one to repeat the stages again and again and again. They're going to go through and discover, oh, wow, these are my strengths. And then maybe when they go back around to another discovery aspect of their life, they're going to say, wow, these are my communication challenges. I didn't know that I struggled to, be in this kind of situation or that kind of, so they just become so much more self-aware and confident and joyful. And that's the kind of results that we are seeing. Do you have more to add, Raluca, to that question?
Yeah, I think this sense of when we talk about confidence as an outcome, and we've heard from our students as well, that they feel more not only clear, but also able to step out in the world and start doing the work. And that's, to us, it's part of being confident in yourself. But also what we notice that confidence is not built as, fake it till we make it for the students. Confidence is built in that ability of saying, oh, I have inside all my resources that I need to go through this. And we've heard so many times and so many examples from surpassing their fears, from going through those failures that we talked about and coming out of them. And now, right now they look at that, oh, 6 months ago, I would have lost my temper if this would have happened to me. I would have blamed everyone, my parents, everyone around me. Right now, it's okay. I know that I can go through this. And I think that's the biggest, one of the biggest benefits of our program so far.
Yeah, a couple other questions we have. Can a parent take the class? I feel this is something that would have benefited me 20 years ago. Wouldn't it for all of us, right? That's a lot of why we created this. Raluca and I are both coaches, and we've done this for adults, but we started seeing such a need for young adults. And the age range that we see our program being ideal for is 18 to 28. And that seems like a big range, In many ways, we're a gap program that's not a gap year, because we don't believe that we are about, taking an adventure or doing something else. We believe we're kind of bridging a gap. We're starting to fill in the blanks where things have not been filled for these young adults. And that might mean coming out of high school. It might mean coming out of college. It might mean taking a pause from college. In some cases, there's a way to work through the online learning combined with the orientation and graduation gatherings, such that it can be combined with other choices. Like many of our kids chose to have jobs while they were working, or take a class or two, or while they were doing the program. And so this really is, for those who are entering the world longing to fill the gap, bridge the gap between what they've grown up with and what they now are facing in the world, right? Okay, okay, Captain is saying, do you mind sharing a few points about your program? How long, when it starts, the fees? Sure, yeah. The program starts in September, and we have actually modified the program. The past couple of years we ran it as a 9-month program, and we're shifting it to a 12-week program, because we recognize that a lot of young adults don't want to commit to something that long. And so we want to make it more available. But so it will run from September to December. It is $5,500. It is a combination of in-person graduation and orientation weeks at the beginning and end of the 12-week program, with 10 weeks of online connection in between. The online connection is it's not just like watch a video and be on Zoom and listen to a lecture. It's very interactive. It's opportunity to have conversations with other like-minded people, asking the deeper questions, really longing to do more. And we're offering them opportunities to go deeper within themselves. We ask them to do projects that also interact in their community. We had them do some volunteer work. And the volunteer work can be simple. It's really an opportunity to say, how can I put my strengths in application to something or someone else and serve? And so we give them tastes of things. We have them doing certain projects artistically, both during the online opportunities as well as at the in-person opportunities. See, have I missed anything, Raluca, that you want to add in terms
No,
of?
I think that's it. And I think that as we start the new batch, there's a lot of, to answer also the question before, we do have a very close-knit connection with the parents as well. So we do have a community of parents. We keep in touch with them. We value that community. And as much as we respect the confidentiality part of our students, we do realize that they are meant to grow where they planted. And that's why we believe in this online, where you go where you want to go, and start building where you are. All of our students founded jobs to work on. We stream them towards projects that we have for them as a volunteer, or also as a paid job. So we are giving them the opportunity to kind of test all the things that we are talking about in the real world where they live. So that's how they build that confidence. And the program is not just online. There is a physical location where we meet. It's in Colorado, the Rocky Mountains, because we believe the nature brings a lot of valuable connection with the inner soul and with that transformation journey as well.
So
I see
we're meeting in person for orientation week and graduation week. They have 2 weeks that are actually in the mountains. So there would be 2 trips involved. And then there's the online in between component. So yeah.
There's another question from Laura.
Yeah,
yes.
Social media. Yeah. So it seems as if social media is the greatest challenge for our young adults. Can you address some ways we can assist them in this regard? Whoa. It's one of the greatest challenges indeed, and it comes with that criticism. We teach our young adults to look inside first. And you would be surprised that by the end of this discovery stage with our young adults, they all chose social media as a cause to fight against. So they do realize that it's something that's not serving them so much. They want to separate from that. And as we bring them in this journey of inner work, they get those tools. We have a guest speaker who's talking to us about building habits in a couple of workshops. We start our all our sessions with centering like we did today. And we try to give them so many questions and so many points of reflection so they can choose on their own their way of interacting with social media. And it comes just to meet their needs. How to stay away from that from that critic that we receive, how to build your own habits in a way that serve you. I don't know, Kim, if you have something else.
Absolutely. I think that's key. And the whole social media thing, I mean, what we do see a lot is that they literally start to get bored of it when they start to see what's really at their own depths. They start to see what else serves them. I think, you know, the more we try to fight them with it as parents and guides, the more they're going to oppose us. They have to come to it on their own. And that's what this journey is all about. That's what these processes that we believe are so helpful are about. So, and I see Susan has another question. Does the cost include housing? So it does include, it includes all the food and lodging for the 2 events, but it does not include your travel to get there. So you, the student would be responsible for, and you know, that's what the, what would be included as far as the costs. Yeah.
I think the other point I think I want to bring, I saw a question, so someone logged in before and said something around, I want to help my young adult guiding with major career choices. And I feel that the first thing to do in that is listening. It's really truly listening and listening to what they want and also understand their unique gifts. And that's what part of our first journey together is discovering those gifts and really work with them and really introspect on, oh, they're really strengths that I'm good at, but they're also strengths that I'm good at, but they drain me. They're not serving me. So making that distinction is helping them understand what choices do I have in the world? How can I match my strengths and my values to what the world is about? And also know as a parent that whatever choice they make, I change my career. It's not definitive. It's very important that they find something that moves them at this point in time. It's not for their entire life. Today, the world changes immediately like that.
Yeah, and another question that's there is from how does the 10-week online part work around work schedules, time zones? Is it done mainly individually with a coach, or is it in a group? That's actually a great thing that we left out in the description. That's one of the things that we believe wholeheartedly in, is this concept of, it's really like group coaching and mentorship, but also each student gets individual personalized mentorship. So they get to talk with, you know, in our history, it's been Raluca and I, 2 trained ontological coaches that are able to talk with them about their specific challenges and help them determine the kinds of things that they need to move through, the ways that they can shift their story, the ways that they can begin to, you know, ultimately move toward creating what they want to create, right? And this is a big part of how that happens. As far as time zones, because we are shifting from the 9-month to the 12-week, we are still in the process of working through that. What we know for sure right now is that every student will be having a private mentoring session every other week, is what we're talking about within the course of the middle 10 weeks, because we'll be in person together for the first and last week. But also, we will be meeting at least twice a week for teachings and conversation, about an hour and a half on Zoom. And then we'll probably continue the opportunity to also have what we called co-working sessions, where we would give them, you know, homeworks and worksheets and things like that they could do. And we work together as a way of helping them hold themselves accountable and say, okay, everybody's counting on me. So like, for example, when the students were working on their story, they had co-working time to come together and work together and be in a breakout room to talk to each other about how they were gonna how they were going to develop their story and prepare for the presentation time. So, and they also do have some of the online portion includes training from some guest facilitators. You can see that on our website as well under the About section, where we list some of the guests that we've had, which are phenomenal and offering things from diversity, equity, and inclusivity and overcoming racism and understanding it from a very special vantage point, as well as things like, you know, understanding wellness. And even our personal chef at the orientation and graduation was teaching the kids a lot about health and nutrition and how to cook and prepare things. We see a lot of young people not knowing how to do that, and we feel that these are all important pieces. So let's see, am I missing any others? Okay. Any other final? Yeah, go ahead, Raluca.
Now, if there's something else that comes to you, please drop us a note, drop us an email as well at info@parzivalacademy.org. We're happy to answer by email. We're happy to answer in a call. So do schedule a call with us. So yeah, I feel that I'm mindful of the time, and that yeah, if there's not, so we have one more slide. I would like to close with a poem. Do you have it, Kim? Yeah.
Yes.
I think this is what resonates the most with the state of our young adults today. Had I the heavens embroidered cloths and wrought with golden and silver light, the blue and the dim and the dark cloths of night and light and the half light, I would spread the cloths under your feet. But I, being poor, have only my dreams. I have spread my dreams under your feet. Tread softly, because you tread on my dreams. Thank you so much, everyone, for tonight. Every young adult has those dreams. We have to tread carefully with them.
Thank you all. So grateful to you for coming. Have a great.
Do you want to unmute everyone and have them say bye or not?
Yes, let's do that. Let's
Yeah.
do that.
Unmute all.
We are going to allow, you can unmute yourself if you would like to say anything or say goodbye.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. Oh. Enjoy the rest of your evening, and we're happy to get in touch at any point in time.